So good evening. Hope you are all doing great. Today we will begin with CSS. But before that, let's try to do a recap.
Yes, by the grace of God.
Let's try to do a recap of what we did yesterday. Um, Yesterday we talked about tables, how we can create tables in our web page. So at the end of our discussion, we realized that we could create a table using the table tag, and we have a closing tag for table. So in between this table, you can create a table head, that's the T head. So inside this T head, we can create a table row. A table row like this. Then inside this row, we can create our TH. So assuming we have name, then age. Oh, sorry, TH rather. So age. Then depending on the number of columns that you want to create, and maybe class like this. And we have our T body. T body. So inside the T body, we can create our table divisions, definitions as well. So same, I create my table row again like this. Then inside is I create table definition, that's the TD. Then inside is the name as the first one, that's the head row. So I have John. Then I have the age to be maybe 14. Then the class to be maybe class 5. So I can duplicate this row several times as in the number of rows that I want to create. Then I can create a table foot. So T foot. Then I copy the same information that I used for the table head inside the T foot. And we were able to style this, but it was not up to perfection. So today we would like to begin with CSS, and we will use the CSS to style the table that we did yesterday. So let's begin today's session. So we are talking about CSS, and the full meaning of CSS is cascading style sheet. It is used to define the layout and how HTML tags are to be arranged on our web page. So we have three types of CSS. We have the inline type of CSS. We have the internal type of CSS, then the external type of CSS. That's the types of CSS. So we have been applying a little bit of CSS in our work. And that type of CSS is the inline type of CSS. So as I recalled yesterday in the previous tutorials, um, I said we use an attribute called style and equal to with a double quote. And inside this style, we give it a property with this column, then a value, then semicolon. So this is a type of CSS. So this is called the inline type of CSS. So we have been practicing the inline type, but we didn't know that it was part of CSS. So we were practicing. And let's move to the internal. With the internal, um, let me quickly move to the page that we created yesterday. That's the tables.html. So assuming I have my table here, so with the internal type, I move straight to the head like this. Then I use a style tag like this with a closing style tag. So between this opening style tag and the closing style tag, then I call the, the tag that I want to give it a color. So I can call the table tag here. So I want to style this table. So instead of me writing style, but I can call the tag name, that's the table. Then with a curly bracket like this, then between this curly bracket, I give it a property, then a value, as we already do like this. Please hope you understand.
Yes, sir.
So
Please, my line is slow, so please slow down a bit for me.
okay. So we use the tag, that's the tag name, so table, then we give it a property, then value. So we can give all the properties and the value within this bracket, curly bracket, and it will affect, or the table tag will pick those style. This is the internal type of CSS. And let's move to the external type of CSS. So with the external type of CSS, as the name implies, external, we have our CSS outside the HTML web page. So we style them outside. So I'll have, let me create a different file um, in this tutorial folder. So new file. Then you save it with the extension. So CSS file is saved with the extension CSS. So I save it with CSS. Then at this place, blank sheet, I then state maybe the tag like the table name. Then with the curly bracket, I give it a property. Then value like this. And inside my HTML code, I'll create a link that will link my HTML page with my CSS. So I have my style in the same location or in the same folder as the HTML. So I'll use link like this, then related to style sheet. So related equal to double quote,
Oh,
style
sir, please. The CSS, the file extension was
dot CSS.
the CSS. So there, please, will you open the tables and do the workings over there, or you just start there?
Yeah, you just call either the tag name. So I can call table. So maybe I have another tag called th. I can call the table head like this. Then also give it a property, then value. So I'll do all my stuff in this page. Then I will link it to my HTML page. Hope you understand.
Please go over.
I
I'm
said
getting that.
I said with the external type of CSS, we do our style in external sheet or external CSS page. So this is the
Okay.
external CSS page that I create. So it's already a style sheet. So we don't need to bring any style, then thing. We don't need it. So we just call the tag name. So we have body, we have table. So I call table. This is a table. Then I give it a property, then a value. Then I come to my HTML page. Then link this CSS to my HTML page. Hope you understand. So
Okay.
Yes, sir.
how we can link the CSS page to our HTML page is what I'm about to teach.
Okay.
So we use a tag with a name link like this. Then related rel related to style sheets like this. Then we use the href to locate where our CSS file is. So in this, we have the CSS file in the same folder. So I'll type the name style.css like
Uh,
this. So I have linked my external CSS page to my HTML. So with this, any style that I give here will have an effect on this page. Please hope you understand.
please, so
Yeah.
the type for me, I don't know the type text slash CSS. I don't
Okay,
know. Hello,
slash CSS.
hello. You see
Hello.
the link? I just link the link. He gave me RL like your star sheet
Yeah,
and the type
of
text slash CSS.
CSS. Well, with the current HTML, you can ignore it or you can choose to leave it like that. But the
Okay,
basic one that is needed is these two, the related to style sheet and then the location of the CSS file.
Kukule. Kukule. Eh.
So you can choose to ignore the type test slash
okay,
CSS. It will still work.
okay. All right.
Okay. So this is the basic information about CSS. And let's do something called the classes and IDs. The classes and IDs. Okay, so let's have a scenario. Assuming, let's take our school for example. When we say a class, mean a group of people, or am I wrong?
All right.
So when we mention that maybe you want all class 6 students to step forward, all students within class 6 will step forward. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
But when we mention a particular name that the person should step forward, even though the person may be in the same class, but it's only one person that will step forward. So we give a class to group of tag, and we give ID to a specific tag.
Okay.
So we use ID once. So it is used to identify a particular tag uniquely, and a class to, you can give it to a group of tags. So with my table like this, I can give this th a class like this. So a class, let's say a head, I can give this one the same class head, head like this, and then the third one the same class head, but I can't give it the same ID. Even though if I give it the same ID, it will work, but it's not the main reason for the ID. So if I want this one unique to, I want to unify this tag, so I can give it an ID as maybe name like this. So I can give this one to an ID, maybe age. So when I call this ID with the name age, only this tag will step out. But when I call the class with the head, all these three tags will come out. Please hope you understand.
No, sir. I'm not getting
Please,
that point.
the class and IDs, or is it the ID or the class?
The ID.
Okay, let's take for example, in our schools, they give each and every student a student ID. That makes that student unique from a different person. So like, we can say that we can have John Mensa in a particular class. They all bear the same name, John Mensa. But with the help of the ID, we can differentiate the first John Mensa from the other John Mensa. Please hope you understand it that way.
Yeah, I'm following.
So in this tag, we can give this th the same class. So I have about three th, the first one, second one, and the third one. So I can choose to give this, 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 and that the same class. So when I call class with the name head, I mean I'm referring to these three tags. Please hope you understand.
Yes, sir.
But when I give this an ID with the name age, so when I call an ID with the name age, I'm referring to only this part. So meaning this tag will pick the style that I'll give it to this ID.
Hmm.
So I can give a class an ID without a class, and I can give a class without an ID.
Okay.
And I can do them both like this. Please hope you understand.
Yes, sir.
Unless you run it.
Okay.
Unless you run it for.
Okay. You get to it. Get to it. So let me take this off.
So are you
So
to clean it?
I'll come back. I'll come back to do the same thing. I'll come back to do the same thing. So in our CSS, in our CSS style sheet, whenever we want to call a class, we use the dot sign or period sign like this. And whenever we want to call an ID in CSS, we use the hash sign. Please hope you understand.
Okay.
So okay, now with us knowing how we can call class and IDs, let's try to do a sample. So in this tutorial, I'll use the internal type of CSS, not the external. So I'll try to take this one off. So let me take off this style that I gave. So we'll do the internal type of CSS. So I'll move to my head. Then I'll begin, since this is an HTML page, I'll describe this to be a style. So you can write a style tag without this type, or you can still bring it. It won't have any effect on your work if you choose to ignore it. So within this style tag, um, since I've deleted the style, I can choose to do it again. So I'll call my table like this with a curly bracket, and I'll give it um, a property like background. So I gave it green like this. Then I gave it a width of 70%. And I also gave it a border. So I gave it 2 pixels, solid black like this. So this is the style. So meaning all tag with the name table will pick this style. So we can have about 2 or more tables in our page. So they'll pick this style. Please hope you understand.
Yes.
Because we are referring to do all tag with the name table. So every table tag will pick this style. So if I want to specify a particular table, then I can use the ID. So I can give it an ID, then I'll refer to the ID straight away rather than using the tag. So that's one important of using classes and IDs. Okay, so uh, this is the
Oh,
role
hello.
that, hello,
Does that mean all the table with the background green and the
yeah,
weight 70 is going
yeah,
to be something like that, or what?
yeah. So assuming that I create a new table like this, a new table, then inside this table, I create a table rule, and inside I create table head like this. So inside this, let's see, um, parent name, then let me copy, then paste maybe age.
It's like of the network, you need to slow down a bit, or some of us in the village will not benefit, please.
Okay, so I'm creating a new table. So age, then maybe um, parent contact like this, meaning these 2 tables will pick the same style as I did here. So let me try to open it in a browser for us to see. In a browser. Okay. So so you see, let me reduce the screen size. So I have the first table which contains the name, age, class, and the second table with parent name, age, and class. So it picked the same style with the same border, same background. So if I want to separate the first one from the second one, then I can give the first one an ID, like let's say student student table. So this is a student table. Then I'll move to my CSS. So instead of table, then I'll use the ID student. And I said we refer to an ID with a hash sign, then the name of the ID. So student, like this. So if I save this time around, only the first table will pick this tab. So let me refresh. So when I refresh, you see that it's only the first table that pick the green background, then the rate of 70%. Please hope you now understand.
Me, my network, so I'm not getting back. Please, you need to slow down the network. So you're going faster than. And please, uh, can't we create the CSS on a different table so that you'll be following? You look as if we are missing it with the old table, so we are not getting anything.
So I should create an external CSS.
Yeah, the CSS that we are creating,
It
I
should be
think
in a
we can create
different.
new table. Yes, different table than yesterday's one.
So
As against that,
we shouldn't use yesterday's table.
yes.
Okay. So I would like to take, or let me give it a different. So you can keep yours. I'll try to change this so that you can see the effects. I don't want to waste time in creating a new table and
All
feeding
right,
it.
let's move on. Let's move on. But I was not getting the students, how you use the hash for the student. And
I said at this place, you have to, you learn something about classes and IDs
yes,
a few minutes ago. And I
yes,
later on said that in CSS, when you want to refer to a class, you use the dot sign or the period sign. And if you want to refer to an ID, you use the hash sign, then the name of the ID. So assuming I want to create a class with the name Kofi, I'll use the dot sign, then Kofi like this. So whenever you see a dot, then the name, meaning it's a class. So we've created a
okay,
class. So with this style of styling, we are referring to all those with the class Kofi.
okay,
And when we want to refer to an ID, we use the hash sign, then the name. So using the same Kofi to create an ID. So hash sign, then Kofi, with a curly bracket, meaning all those with ID Kofi will pick the same style. Please hope you understand.
yes, yes,
So I came to my head and created a style, and I called all those I am with ID students. So let me take this one off again. Let me save it. So let's refresh. So assuming we've created a new table. So this is table one. Up to this place is table one. And this one too is table two. So with the table two, I created only the heading. So let me try to put in a few information inside the second table. So I'll create another table row, and inside the table row, this time around, a TD. So um, first name to Mary, second name 34, then the last one, that's the contact. Go to this. So this is the first information. So I can choose to copy this, then change the information inside. So second row, um, the age of maybe the number, something like this. Then the last one. So let me keep it like this. So I'll save. So you can see we have two tables like this. And we want the first one to pick a certain style. So if I move to my CSS and I call table, so when we are referring to a tag, we just use the name. We don't add any special character as in calling a class or an ID. So I'll use the table. Then for the table, I'll give it a width of, let's say, 70% like this. And I would like to center this table. So margin auto like this. So I'll save it, refresh my browser. So we can see that the first table and the second table have picked the same style. Please hope you've seen it.
Please, I believe when you come back, you go over this because I'm confused over it. I can hear the sign, but the talking. Not coming.
Okay. But hope we've got this one.
Yeah, we've got.
Because I call the name table, so all those with the name table will pick this style, the width 70%, margin auto, which will place it at the center of our web page, like this. So let's end the first session and come back to continue a second. But
All right.
the
All right.
time is up.
So when it's closed, okay, cool.
We'll come back.
When it's closed, yeah, okay, okay, okay.
It's